Over the last several years, I've considered myself more of an intuitive eater. I don't count calories, I don't restrict carbs, and I don't follow any kind of diet. Recently, I stumbled across some videos on intuitive eating online, and I had no idea they have books about this, and I actually picked one up. I picked up this one. I have not read it yet because I just got it this week. I just kind of flipped through it. I have no idea if I'm going to agree with absolutely everything in this book, but I'm going to take a look at it. So I have some thoughts surrounding this that I'm going to share with you today. Now, I just want to mention that it doesn't mean that what I say is fact or that it's right. It's simply just another opinion. I've felt guided over the last several years to eat this way, and the more that I research, the more that I really understand the importance of listening to what your body needs. So I think that there is this fine balance between listening to our intuition and listening to our mind and what we think that our body needs. We might think that we need the cake, but from a nutrition standpoint, we probably don't need the cake. But this doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the cake, if that makes sense. So I think that we should never shame ourselves for having the slice of cake. I really think that that happens way too often in our culture now, our diet culture. And I've really learned over the years the importance of releasing the shame that we have if we do decide to have the piece of cake. Now, I have done extensive research on nutrition over the years, and it has helped me to understand a lot more about food and really just how our body works. So I think we can have a balance between intuitive eating and also eating the vitamins and minerals that we know that our body needs. And I think that the nutrition information can be used more in a supportive way to help us with the intuitive eating. And what I've learned over the years of being in the online space in the nutrition world is that it can be a very hard space to be in. Everybody seems to have an opinion about which diet we should all be following, and the truth is that there is no one size fits all. I really think that that is where the intuitive eating comes in. We should all be listening to what our body needs and more or less understanding the reason why we make the choices that we do about food. So on one hand, you have somebody that might say the way to optimal health is to restrict calories and to restrict carbohydrates, which if you really think about it, it creates this punishment type of energy around dieting and eating. It says that these foods are bad because they have a lot of carbohydrates in them, and if you eat them, then you're bad, and it's kind of like having foods that are off limits. This is also where I think that eating disorders come into play. Then you have somebody on the other hand that packs in all of the carbohydrate heavy foods after maybe an excessive workout. So what it is to me is it's either swinging the pendulum too far this way into deprivation, or it's swinging the pendulum the other way in creating excess type behaviors. So if you restrict calories, then it might send that message to your brain that when you do eventually sit down to eat, maybe you inhale your food, you eat it faster because you're hungry. And this doesn't really give your body a chance to signal when you're full. And I do think that we have this conflict between inner wisdom and the mindsets that we have picked up from diet culture and everything that we see online. What we eat is largely fueled by what other people feel is good or bad. There are foods that are more nutrient dense than others and higher in vibration. And these will most likely be the foods that make you feel good. This is part of the puzzle of eating intuitively, is finding out what foods make you feel vibrant and make you feel good. Knowing the difference between what makes you feel good on the inside versus just getting a dopamine rush. Finding foods that make you feel good on the inside, even though some of them might be deemed as healthy foods, they might not be good for you at that particular time. I've known people that don't seem to do well, digestively speaking, with something like kale. So paying attention to foods that don't make you feel well, even if that means kale. Because what it comes down to is the fact that something that makes my body feel good, it might not make you feel good. It's really about healing our relationship with food. So when we feel the urge to binge eat, how are we feeling? What emotions are we experiencing that are triggering us to feel like we need to eat in excess? It's going to be more important to deal with the root issue, which is emotional, than it is to just go on some sort of fad diet, which to me seems very surface level. How can you eat in a way that feels balanced and in a way that feels intuitively guided? Something that I heard a lot of people talk about is the roller coaster of emotions that they experience when they are dieting. So it's like summer's coming, you want to go on a diet so that you can look good in that bikini. So you go on a diet, you lose all this weight, you feel good, and then you go back to your regular eating habits and you gain the weight back, and then you feel very disappointed, and it's like this cycle that never ever ends. Like I was mentioning earlier about swinging the pendulum too far one way, and then so when you stop the diet, then it swings way too far this way. So I think the happy medium is finding something that is balanced, that feels good, and it's somewhere in the middle. Making sure that eating is neither a punishment nor a reward. Asking your body what it needs to feel nourished each day, what it needs to feel good. So some days you might need more carbohydrates, or you might need to drink more water. And I think it's just about listening to that inner guidance that your body is giving you, and eating until you're comfortable, and eating nice and slow, and really like savoring the moment of eating and building that relationship with your food. So like I said, I haven't read this book, but I have flipped through some of the pages, and I did find some principles that were in here for intuitive eating and healing your relationship with food. So I wanted to share them with you today. The first one is reject the diet mentality. Throw out the diet books and magazine articles that offer you the false hope of losing weight quickly, easily, and permanently. Get angry at diet culture that promotes weight loss and the lies that have led you to feel as if you were a failure every time a new diet stopped working and you gained back all of the weight. If you allow even one small hope to linger that a new and better diet or food plan might be lurking around the corner, it will prevent you from being free to rediscover intuitive eating. Principle number 2, honor your hunger. Keep your body biologically fed with adequate energy and carbohydrates, otherwise you can trigger a primal drive to overeat. Once you reach the moment of excessive hunger, all intentions of moderate, conscious eating are fleeting and irrelevant. Learning to honor this first biological signal sets the stage for rebuilding trust in yourself and food. Principle number 3, make peace with food. Call a truce, stop the fight, give yourself unconditional permission to eat. If you tell yourself that you can't or shouldn't have a particular food, it can lead to intense feelings of deprivation that build into uncontrollable cravings, often binging. When you finally give in to your forbidden foods, eating will be experienced with such intensity, it usually results in Last Supper overeating and overwhelming guilt. Number 4, challenging the food police. Scream aloud no to thoughts in your head that declare you're good for eating minimal calories or bad because you ate a piece of chocolate cake. The food police monitor the unreasonable rules that diet culture has created. The police station is housed deep in your psyche, and its loud speaker shouts negative barbs, hopeless phrases, and guilt-provoking indictments. Chasing the food police away is a critical step in returning to intuitive eating. Principle 5, discovering the satisfaction factor. Japanese have the wisdom to keep pleasure as one of their goals of healthy living. In our compulsion to comply with diet culture, we often overlook one of the most basic gifts of existence, the pleasure and satisfaction that can be found in the eating experience. When you eat what you really want in an environment that is inviting, the pleasure you derive will be a powerful force in helping you feel satisfied and content. Principle number 6, feel your fullness. In order to honor your fullness, you need to trust that you will give yourself the foods that you desire. Listen for the body signals that tell you that you are no longer hungry, and observe the signs that show that you're comfortably full. Pause in the middle of eating and ask yourself how the food tastes and what your current hunger level is. Principle 7, cope with your emotions with kindness. First, recognize that food restriction, both physically and mentally, can in and of itself trigger loss of control, which can feel like emotional eating. Find kind ways to comfort, nurture, distract, and resolve your issues. Anxiety, loneliness, boredom, and anger are emotions we all experience throughout life. Each has its own trigger, and each has its own appeasement. Food won't fix any of these feelings. It may comfort for the short term, distract from the pain, or even numb you, but food won't solve the problem. You'll ultimately have to deal with the source of the emotion. Principle 8, respect your body. Accept your genetic blueprint, just as a person with a shoe size of 8 would not expect to realistically squeeze into a size 6. It is equally futile and uncomfortable to have a similar expectation about body size, but mostly respect your body so that you can feel better about who you are. It's hard to reject the diet mentality if you are unrealistic and critical of your body size or shape. All bodies deserve dignity. I think this too can come down to respecting where you're at. If you're wanting to feel better on the inside, and so you're making some changes that feel really good to you, I think it's also important to love yourself and where you're at in your journey. Principle number 9, movement, feel the difference. Forget militant exercise, just get active and feel the difference. Shift your focus to how it feels to move your body rather than the calorie burning effect of exercise. If you focus on how you are feeling from working out, such as energized, it can make the difference between rolling out of bed for a brisk morning walk or hitting the snooze alarm. I'm just going to speak for myself when I say that I love a really challenging, hard workout. I like breaking a sweat, and that's really the feeling afterwards is what gets me out of bed early in the morning, and I really do crave that type of movement. So for me, I really like that type of movement, but it might not be for everybody. Again, it's about finding what works for you and what makes you feel good on the inside. Principle 10, honor your health, gentle nutrition. Make food choices that honor your health and taste buds while making you feel good. Remember that you don't have to eat perfectly to be healthy. You will not suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or become unhealthy from one snack, one meal, or one day of eating. It's what you eat consistently over time that matters. Progress, not perfection, is what counts. So yeah, I do think that it is about the small decisions over the long term and trying not to beat yourself up if you decide to have that slice of cake. I really like what it says about progress, not perfection. This is something that I have been personally really working on, and I've been saying for a while that if you don't feel good on the inside, start with the small things, start with the small shifts, start with an apple a day and see how you feel and just go from there. I do think that it's really good to be aware of some of these things, but the information that you see online, it should always be taken with a grain of salt. It can be a lot easier to figure out intuitively what we should be eating when we are aware of some of those things. It is all about balance. So balancing what we know about nutrition with what we feel inside intuitively. This doesn't mean that we never go to a dietitian or a nutritionist. I think that they are extremely valuable for when people are dealing with certain issues and they need maybe a little bit of guidance or a little bit of help. Something that has really worked for me is paying attention to those foods that make me feel good, yes, but also like what way can I enjoy those healthy foods a lot more. I actually have been building on this relationship for a while with my food, and to where the foods that are higher in vibration, healthier, I feel really good about eating. So it's not like a punishment for me to eat broccoli. I just truly love broccoli. And also remember that this is a process. So this is something that is probably gonna take a while in order to get fully to where you want to be. That a lot of emotions and things like that are really what is behind our eating habits that we have today. So I think it's really important not to like sway too far either way, and to have some sort of healthy balance in between. With that said, what do you feel about this? How do you feel about intuitive eating, and have you read books similar to that? Let me know in the comments. So before I go, let's pull a card from my Archangel Raphael Healing Oracle deck. I really like this deck. A lot of times will feel drawn to this when I have a health related question, or if I'm needing to be reminded about something about my health. And I was feeling drawn to it today because, you know, we're talking about intuitive eating. So let's see, what do we or should we know ending this video about our health? And I'll just read the little meaning in the book. Okay, let's see. Give us your cares. Dear God and Archangel Raphael, I am willing to release any fears to you. Please allow me to completely let go so that you can fully guide me in this situation. So yeah, that's a really beautiful card. Let's see what it says in the book. Whoops. Give us your cares. Needless stress is exasperating this health concern, and the angels would like to help. Archangel Raphael is ready to receive and transmute any health-related fears. There are many ways to release fears to the angels, including writing a letter, speaking to the angels out loud, explaining your feelings to Raphael in your mind, and inhaling deeply, then exhaling your worries to God and the angels. Possible specific meanings: ask for help more often from people as well as the angels. Talk about your feelings with trusted individuals in addition to the angels. Practice relaxation methods such as massage, meditation, nature walks, or yoga. Trust that everything will be okay. And a little prayer. Dear God and Archangel Raphael, I am willing to release any fears to you. Please allow me to completely let go so that you can fully guide me in this situation. So yeah, stress comes up. I don't know that I really mentioned stress too much in this video, but stress can play a huge factor on our health, of course, but also in eating habits and the choices that we make when it comes to which foods we want to eat for that day. Also with that card, what comes up is fear. So getting rid of any fears that you might have surrounding food, whether that's like fear that you're gonna eat too much and gain weight, or whether that's fear of types of foods, like ones that maybe you would deem bad. So I think it's a lot about getting to the root of it, the emotional aspect of why we make the food choices that we do. So I know for myself, when I start to feel a little bit more anxious or stressed out, I usually reach for the chocolate. So it's about looking at those underlying emotions and figuring out, okay, well, what is stressing me out, or what is causing me to feel this way, so that I'm, like reaching for the chocolate, which isn't necessarily a bad thing to have chocolate every once in a while, but it's about getting to the emotional root level issue. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.